In this video, I'm going to share with you the exact drills that I love for handstand shaping and handstand development. So if you're someone who is working on handstands on your own, or you're working in gymnastics or circus or CrossFit, this is going to be a video you definitely want to see. So stick around and we're going to break down exactly these 5 drills I like. I'll share with you the common errors, how to do them, how to perform them, and some ways you can modify them if you're struggling a little bit. Before we dive in though, these videos have been extremely popular. Some of these have been going a little bit mini viral and they've been really exciting for people. So I want to hear from you about what you want to learn about more, but also I want you to stay up to date. So make sure you stop right here, hit the notification bell and hit the subscribe button because you're going to get first access whenever we put this content out. Also, if you've been here for the last couple of weeks, you've been seeing that we're having a lot of buzz and excitement around some of the giveaways we're doing. So what we do here is we have everybody who is seeing the video in the first 24 hours. If you head down to the comment section and you comment on hashtag 24shift, you will be automatically entered to win a pretty epic prize that's coming at the end of the month that I will share more about in the end of this video. But let's dive right in here and try to give you all the drills that you came for. All right, so first thing that I think is probably what most people are missing in many handstand components or developments is just some basic shaping, okay? So many people, as soon as they hear about handstands, they jump right up and they want to go to a wall handstand. They want to kick up in the middle of space. And the reality is that it's actually really hard to do that well. So the first thing we have to do is teach somebody body tension, okay? Body tension and basic shaping. And so the drill I really like here is extremely simple. It's just floor lines, okay? So what we're going to do here is have someone lay on their stomach. We're going to have them lay down, and essentially what we're doing here is just simply teaching them how to engage their entire body in a flat shape. So here Maddie is going, what she's doing is she's thinking about first, she's really bracing her core, and then she's thinking about slowly but surely engaging the glute muscles here to push the hips open, really locking the quads out, really locking the toes down to get a nice long flat line. Okay, so squeezing the core, squeezing the hips open, using a really nice tight leg control. Legs are tight, squeezed, knees are straight, legs are together, heels are together, and then in her upper body, you can see that her ears are covered and she's looking at her thumbs, okay? This is one of the most crucial things to learn in a handstand is understanding where to look, but how to keep your ears covered for a proper shape when you get inverted. And the problem here is that if nobody ever understands in a very kind of slow, basic situation where to look, how to cover their ears, how to keep their core braced, how to open their hips, how to create body tension, as soon as they kick up, they get a little scared and it turns into like the wobble monster, right? The other thing that sometimes happens here is people kick up to the wall and they don't understand this concept, so they kind of get scared. They don't know how to come down properly, okay? So you really have to make sure that someone understands this. The way we would do this for sets and reps is I think 10 seconds is a really good option here. Just doing one set, maybe a couple rounds of this, but you can do this every single day in your warm-up, okay? The common errors that will happen here, like I said, is one, the hands will not be looking towards the thumbs here. The eyes will not be looking towards the thumbs, or you'll have someone who can't keep their ears covered, okay? So we teach this by ears are covered, but eyes are up. So you're looking up through your eyebrows to see your thumbs, but you're still keeping your head in this way, okay? The second thing we see a lot of times is someone doesn't know how to brace their entire core and they just arch their back, okay? So you might say squeeze your core, and they simply just don't know what happens there, and they just kind of kip their chest up to look at their hands. What we want to teach someone is how to brace and breathe at the same time. So think about bracing your core, breathing on top of that so the diaphragm is working along with the core muscles. And the third thing we see is somebody only really working about here, right? They don't really think about what's happening below the body, and while they're not really focused on it, if the hips are not really engaged and flat, if the quads are not flexed, if the legs are not squeezing together, that means that when they kick up, their legs are going all over the place and they sometimes have this crazy spider thing going on and they can't control their handstand. Okay, if you want to really control your handstand well, you have to have that nice single stacked body position the whole time. So that's number one. It's super basic, but honestly, it is the best place to start. Number two, getting things to be a little bit more exciting here, are just gonna be doing some weight shifting drills or some Physioball drills. And the reason we like these is because they start to teach somebody how to shift their weight and how to control their body weight over their hands. Okay, again, one of the most common errors we see is somebody who wants to do a handstand, they simply just kick up, right? And most people have never been inverted. They've never really understood how to shift their weight over their hands. And also they've never taken pressure on their hands in any way, shape, or form. So if the reason I mention this is because most people's wrists are not conditioned for handstands. And so what happens is they don't build up the strength in their wrists and in their elbows, which are not weight-bearing joints. They kick up right away and their wrists get really sore before they actually start to train their handstand. So this is a really important drill or progression to do before somebody does full handstands, is learn how to weight shift onto your hands, learn how to take pressure over your wrist, and really just understand that body tension component in more of a vertical stacked piece, okay? So while this isn't necessarily a handstand itself, it's a progression that is essential to learn the components that will be important in a handstand if you want to do this for the long term, right? So the reps we do here are for 10. The sets are about 2, just 2 sets of rocking back and forth, just a 1 second forward, 1 second back. And I like like these a couple times per week in a warm-up or in some sort of their training as well. Okay, the common errors we see here again are a arched position of the back. Many people doing handstands do not understand how to brace their hollow core and keep that shape maintained. So as soon as they kick up, they sink into their back and their arch. So this is a nice double whammy because one, we teach that weight shifting and that weight bearing over the wrist, but also we're going to give somebody some really good core strengthening drills that will carry over when they're upside down. Okay. The second thing we see is someone gets a little bit too far outside their means. And what I mean by that is they rock way too far backwards and way too far forwards. Okay. You can notice here, Taylor's just doing subtle rocks back and forth. For the progression of handstands, we don't need crazy amounts of forward and backward motion. We're just trying to teach this skill of weight shifting back and forth over the hands, okay? So if somebody gets way too far back or way too far forward, they might really have a tough time and struggle, and then the shape and the quality is lost, okay? The third thing we see here along with the first is, again, they don't have a hollow. Many people don't understand the amount of pelvic tilting or the amount of rounding that needs to happen to have a really good handstand shape. So what we're trying to teach here is trying to take the belly button and pull it in, try to really squeeze the glutes to keep the hips tucked under. That's the shape we want to maintain the entire time, all right? So that's the second one I really like. The third one starts to get into a little bit more actual handstand progressions, okay? If you have someone who is working on handstands and they have a pretty decent shape, they've done some weight shifting back and forth, we really want to make sure somebody understands how to lean their body weight back and forth and control that motion, okay? So floor bar walks here are phenomenal, right? Even if you're not someone working in traditional gymnastics, the floor bar walk is still a very, very fantastic way to work on all these different pieces. And so what Linnea is doing here, she's just leaning her body weight and she's going all the way down the bar. And then as she gets to the end, she can do some hand flips back and forth here to kind of work on advanced progressions. But what we're trying to teach here, and you can see she struggles a little bit, you can see how her hips kind of swing back and forth a little bit. She's not really fully weight shifting her hands over, so she gets this small pike arch. What we'd like to see a little more is that she leans her body fully over that stacked arm and then comes back. Okay, and the reason this is such a great drill for anybody working on handstands is it really teaches control. It teaches body shaping and control at a much higher level, and it will make static handstands or just handstands against the wall or handstands on an apparatus that much easier. So I really love this drill back and forth because of that, but also the wall provides a significant amount of support, so someone can just focus on the body tension. You don't need somebody else to hold their feet, and you're not worried about somebody flopping over and falling on top of their head in open space. The wall is there as a nice protective guide. Okay, so the way I like to do this is just one bar length, so they would walk all the way down. They can do the hand flips if they want, and they would walk all the way back. I really like 1 or 2 sets at minimum here to try to reinforce this shaping. And then tempo is just 1 to 2 seconds. Okay, we do these a couple times per week. And as we talked about common errors, one is that there's no weight shift. You don't see them stack their entire body over one arm. You actually see she's doing this really well here. Her whole body is stacked over, her hips aren't piked, she's not swaying. That unloads this hand so she can then move the next way. For someone trying to eventually get down to walking, this is a really important skill, okay? The second thing you'll see is that when somebody walks, sometimes you can see that their ears are still being shown here. If ideally we want to keep this bicep as close as possible to the ears and keep the ears covered, because that's a nice stacked position and it allows for less kind of wiggle room of the head to come out and for something to maybe arch off the wall. So we want to try our best to get our ears to stay covered the entire time. And similar to last time, when somebody starts to lean or weight shift, if they're not having good body tension and control, they'll really arch their back quite a bit and they won't have that nice hollow shape. So we really want to promote somebody doing a wall facing bar walk, right? Belly towards the wall to encourage that nice hollow tilt. If they go the other way where they kick their feet up over the wall, which is something that a lot of people are doing, is kicking up facing their back towards the wall, that naturally drives more of an arch, and that's not the best position we want to see. So flip that around and do a wall facing handstand drill. That's way more beneficial long term to keep that hollow and to keep that nice shape. All right, and then moving on here, a nice progression I really love as well is going to be some sort of handstand taps, which is a great progression of the one we saw before, but I like this one because there are many different ways we can do this, okay? With the handstand walking drill, sometimes you get stuck because you have to have a full handstand and you can't teach someone the progression. With a handstand tap, there are many different variations that are easier for people, starting with a tuck or maybe doing a pike or maybe doing a one leg, as I'll show in a video here, and you can teach someone this progression without them needing a full wall facing handstand, okay? So in the top video here, what you'll see is Tay is in a pike position, right? And she's just going to lean her weight back and forth, and she's going to bring up and tap one side, shift to the other side, tap one side, and come back and forth. Okay, so she's keeping this nice stacked position of her hips, but she's not really allowing herself to fall down. And I really love this drill more so for the stacking. I mean, the ear tapping part and the weight shifting is great, but we got that in the last drill. But this stacking component is awesome. This helps people slowly load their wrists and slowly load their shoulders and really focus on great technique and not having to worry so much about the specific logistics of, oh my God, my wrists are sore, or I can't really get my weight all the way over. I will say that if someone struggles with hamstring flexibility or pike flexibility, they can just bend their knees a little bit and still get the stacking effect of these drills. So we start somebody on their knees, then we progress somebody to this toes up pike position, and then eventually she can raise one leg up to the ceiling and do a one-legged pike handstand, and then eventually she can come down to this drill, which is just a classic kind of wall tap handstand drill. So Linnea is now going back and forth. Again, trying to not jackknife her hips too much, but just going back and using this weight shifting. You need a lot of control and a lot of really good shaping pieces to make this really go well. So I like starting people out who are maybe new to handstands or kind of have not a lot of experience on the tuck version, which is very easy to do for most people. Then go to pike, then go to one leg, then go to the actual wall handstand. And then eventually these things all come together to the last drill we'll talk about, which is kind of my favorite drill. So we go about 10 reps back and forth, probably 2 sets, a 1 second tap, and you can easily do these every single day. They're really not that stressful at all. The errors we see here will be they don't have that weight shift again, right? They just kind of pick their hand up and tap it real quick and put it back down. They're not able to fully weight shift over and really hold on one arm. We see those ears poking out, and you can kind of see Tay is struggling here a little bit with that. We'd like to see that head down a little bit more and the eyes straight up towards the thumbs and not kind of looking out with their head out. And then we kind of see someone who's just going up to the handstand, down to the handstand, right? We want someone to really hold the handstand and hold control, then lean, and then get that, then control back, then control over, then lean. It should be a much slower, methodical thing, not a race to tap as fast as they can. All right, and that leads to our last one, which is my all-time favorite handstand drill. This is the handstand walking and stepping hold drill. Now, obviously, this is a little bit more advanced, but this really shows me that someone has full mastery over their handstand controls. So in this drill, she's gonna kick up, walk 3 steps, she's gonna stop and try to hold that handstand for 3 seconds, and then walk 3 more steps, and then hold for 3 seconds, and then walk for 3 more steps. Now, this is extremely hard to do, but the reason I like this is it kind of wraps up all the things we've talked about. You need good shaping, you need good weight shifting, you need good balance and control, and you really need to have a mastery of the core idea of what the handstand stacking is, right? And so I like doing this personally with a partner just for some little bit of balance assistance and a little bit of safety as well. So I have Heather, who's here just walking alongside Taylor, so she kicks up. She's just right near here in case she needs a little bit of a balance check, and she's there for a little bit. Obviously, Taylor's trying to do all this on her own, but she takes 3 steps, and the goal is to be able to do this really, really well solo. So yeah, this is one of my favorite drills because it really gets everything all in one. And the way we do this is going to be 1 lap down like a floor or maybe 20 feet. 2 sets, and again, that tempo is about 3 seconds because the 3-second hold, then it takes about 3 seconds to walk more. So I like these a couple times per week. And if you have someone who's struggling a little bit with this, you can do a variation of this where they're angled against a wall or they're angled on a block and they're just walking around the block if someone struggles a little bit in the full handstand. But I wanted to make sure I included some of the more advanced drills because there are some people on this YouTube channel who really want to see those kind of more advanced progressions or those more kind of exciting things they're doing down the road. But the things that I think are common errors here is one is somebody holds their breath their entire time, right? They just hold their breath the entire time. You should be able to breathe in a handstand. That's an advanced skill, but that core control all the way in the first drill and breathing transfers over here where you should be able to stack yourself and also get that nice control. Okay, 2, again, the ears are popped out as you see Tay's working on here. And 3 is going to be her hands would be too wide, okay? We want those ears to be really covered, which means the hands are really close because somebody can balance much better in a narrow handstand. As soon as the hands start to go wider and wider, it's really hard to maintain that nice stack position for more than a kick up and a kick down. And we're trying to give somebody advanced mastery, which means they're going to have a really nice static handstand for a long time. So yeah, those are my 5 drills that I think I've used probably on every gymnastics thing I've worked with. If you're someone who works in gymnastics, you want to learn more about skills and drills and shaping and all this kind of stuff, the 2023 SHIFT Symposium is coming up, and this will lead to the giveaway we're going to talk about. Thanks for sticking around for that. But this is going to be an amazing 3-day event where we really talk about gymnastics medical care, we talk about gymnastics coaching, we talk about gymnastics strength and conditioning, all the best drills, all the best skills. We have a 3-day epic 30-speaker lineup. So if you're anyone who works in medical care or gymnastics coaching, or you're a parent or someone, you really probably want to be involved in this. We have discounted tickets going on right now, and if you see this after the fact, you can still get a pretty hefty discount by signing up before in a bundled package. But for those that are here, you can enter to win a free set of tickets for yourself, and that is the giveaway we're doing at the end of the month. Anyone who's in the comment section in the first 24 hours of the video going up who comments hashtag 24shift, you will be automatically entered to win a weekend set of tickets for yourself. Or if you want to give that to somebody else, we can totally do that. But we wanted to make sure everybody who is here, who is listening and supports the YouTube channel, had an inside scoop to get tickets when nobody else can. It's about a $500 value, and we're very, very excited for someone to get that. So I hope this video was very helpful. And then in the next ones, we'll start covering a little bit more about what the people on the YouTube channel want to hear about. So make sure to stick around and make sure to jump into next week's video where we talk about even more progressions and stuff for gymnastics skills. Hope this was helpful.